What's up guys, I'm randomfrankp, and today we have a pretty interesting keyboard build. But as you can tell, it's not your ordinary gaming keyboard. This is the Megalodon Console 64, a keyboard with a built-in controller on each side. Should be a fun one. Also, for the sake of the build, we'll keep it pretty chill. We'll go vlog style for part of the build as we go throughout the process. So, it's been a minute since I've done a keyboard build, but this one I think could be pretty interesting because, as you can tell, this isn't your ordinary keyboard. The Console 64 has the gamepad integration on each side, replicating the Nintendo Switch, but it's for your PC. It's got a joystick, 3 dials, 4 other dedicated functions. This could really be a macro lover's dream, I hope. And since it's a keyboard at heart, I was happy to see they integrated a gasket mount here. Not only with pour-on strips underneath the PCB, but also with these rubber caps to hopefully provide a nice and soft flex to our keyboard. But obviously the main reason I picked this up is because I'm super interested in how all these extra functions and the joystick integrated into the actual keyboard can benefit or improve that hybrid gaming scenario, where maybe I'm running around in game that I want to hop into a car or a helicopter and use a joystick to drive around. Will this Console 64 be a gamer's dream? We're gonna find out. Now I also have it disassembled to show you guys a better look at the keyboard, but this kit actually comes assembled out of the box, so there's no building necessary. It comes with the polycarbonate plate, the PCB, the stabilizers, so you don't need to take it apart like I did. But yes, this is how it comes fully assembled, so you just need to complete it with your choice of switches and keycaps. Now, one of the first things I did when I got this in was give it a bit of a spray paint job because the version I bought was white, but I wanted it to be this more flat matte gray. So I got this super easy to use Rust-Oleum primer here to give it more that flat gray look. So that way it'll match the keycap set that I use. So since we have our hotspot PCB, that'll let me easily pop switches in and out without the need of soldering, saving me a bunch of time. Switches of choice today are going to be the Aqua Cream Blues. These are a lighter tactile switch at 38 grams, with a travel distance at 3.5 millimeters and actuate at 2 millimeters. Construction here though is a bit different than most. These have a longer pull to the stem, so they have a faster bottom out, and they give a really nice creamy pop to its tactility that I'd say is more satisfying to feel and use over other tactile switches, which is why I'm using these today. But they're also super affordable. A pack of 45 is just like $12, $13. So 2 packs at 90 switches will be more than enough for this build, bringing it to just around $25 for these, which is a steal. I also think the light blue color in the shells is gonna match everything nicely, as you'll see with the keycap set coming up. But as I always say, that's more of like a personal OCD type thing because switches aren't visible and you don't need them to match, anything on the keyboard or the keycaps. But hey, why not? Giving our board some power, you'll see the LEDs shine nice and bright, and they only make that blue in the shell pop more. And already, just from inserting the switches, the gasket mount here gives us a lot of flex, which is really nice to see and feel. And this is one of the benefits of not only having a flexible plate like we have here with the polycarbonate one, but those gaskets are giving us a respectable amount of bounce and give. Love it. Then for the keycaps, as you can tell from the overall visual theme I've laid out, I'm going with Omnitype's DualShock keycap set to give us that controller, keyboard, gamer feel and to match the OG PlayStation vibes. Some of the accent keys here have the LED window, so it emulates that feel of the power button on the PlayStation. Quickly gonna change up the RGB lights to match that, and it does so perfectly. Yes, everything's perfect, right? Ah, shit. Here's the problem. This keyboard uses a 2U left shift. Not the end of the world, but that's far from a common keycap. This DualShock set I have from Omnitype includes a 125, 175, 225, and 275 left shift, not a 2U. That 2U cap is included in their Edition set, not the Accent set that I have, which is just one of the many reasons why this whole keyboard hobby is just So since we're not gonna have a proper shift key, and trust me, I looked in about 5 of my other GMK sets that I have, and none of them had a 2U shift either. For the sake of this build, I'm just gonna have to roll with what we have, which is the 175, since it's the closest thing that'll fit here without clashing with the Z key. But man, that little gap hurts. That hurts. And that is just the beginning of the bit of issues that I could already see. You ready? Since Megalodon wants to watch the world burn, check out our right shift, or lack thereof. Yeah, this is a 1U shift on this side, which is just so dumb with this layout. It's bizarre and pointless. Just for the sake of the aesthetics, I wound up using the non-accented up arrow, which is just, I'm doing my best to contain my rage here, okay? Now, it's not Megalodon's fault. Well, maybe, because on their site, and I just checked, nowhere does it list the actual layout of this keyboard. You know, having some sort of spec list would have been great. So I could have seen that, oh, it needs a 2U and a 1U shift. But at the time of filming, that's not on there. Now, yeah, that's also my fault for not realizing that the right shift didn't have stabilizers when I saw the product listing. So you could say my eyes were a bit too big for my stomach. You know, that stupid saying where it doesn't really relate here in this case, but kind of does. I just got too excited. I did zero research and I bought it. So pretty quickly during filming, I was messing around with the controls and started to figure out what does what, and this joystick is absolutely horrible. It feels like super sluggish. Underneath, the joystick gets exposed when you move it too far because the actual joystick cutout is too big to hide that bottom cover. So this just welcomes any dust particles to fall in and kill the joystick. Awesome. Underneath that are 4 individual buttons that are laid out like you would typically see on the right side of a controller, you know, not the left. And these you have to press in like uncomfortably deep in order for it to actuate. I feel like these should be a bit taller or easier to press. The bottom dial changes up the layers and profiles as noted by the tiny LED cutout on the top right, which cuts like 75% of the actual screen off if you saw in the beginning. Then also on the right side, this isn't a second joystick. It totally should have been. This is a scrolling function or a quick way to skip 70 songs on Spotify. And the bottom dial is the volume knob, which mutes the track when you actuate it. All right, so far, not the best impression. I'm gonna get some gaming done and I'll come back to you tomorrow on my thoughts. You know, I ended last night by saying that this wasn't Megalodon's fault. But you know what? It's entirely their fault. So last night I spent a few hours gaming, and the keyboard itself, sure, just fine. I still definitely have my issues adjusting to the 1U right shift, but you don't use that for gaming really, you just use the left shift. The main issue comes with the whole selling point of this promising and unique keyboard, the joysticks, and just the overall layout. The joystick is the definition of trash, okay? I showed you before how it just exposes the inside when you move it too far, but the actual configuration of this is ridiculous. So inside the VIA software, it's literally set as mouse up, down, left, and right. So the 4 movements, each as a function. But when you use this, at first it automatically just wants to like lock into that XY axis of vertical and horizontal, since that's what it's set to in the software. And it takes a bit for it to realize like, oh yeah, I'm a joystick. So getting it to like trigger into those diagonal or like 180 movements is a bit tricky, and it doesn't want to. It's just a very weird, dumb execution. Because in the software, there's no joystick sensitivity settings or anything like that. Because again, it's just set as up, down, left, or right. Now, if you want to use this as a mouse to quickly navigate your browser, your desktop, then sure, have at it. But for gaming, this is pointless. In most games you would use a controller for, it does nothing. The joystick doesn't work in racing games. In like skateboarding games like Session, it's inactive. And for games that even have a controller menu, like GTA for example, this doesn't even trigger that since it's still being recognized as a keyboard. The only thing this will do for you is, like a mouse, aim in game. So you can look around if you want, but that's it. There's no triggers to shoot, and since it's on the right side, you'll just have your other hand cramped to WASD, which makes it just a terrible, terrible experience. Just why did they not include a second joystick where this pointless third dial is? We already have 2 dials. This would have made so much more sense and would have given this hope and purpose if this was actually a joystick, because then you could have used it ergonomically like you would as an everyday controller with 2 joysticks. Now, again, this is kind of my fault because on their product pictures, it does kind of look like a joystick. I'm not gonna lie. I told you guys, I got too trigger happy, no pun intended, and I bought it without thinking or doing any research. So consider my mistake a blessing or a lesson to those who are thinking of buying this. There is just so much missed potential with this keyboard because there really isn't anything like this out there. And this could have been a 2 birds with 1 stone peripheral, the keyboard and controller in one. But no. At the end of the day, we have this console 64 with 1 joystick, rendering this pointless. I have no use for it. What I'm gonna do is pretty much strip it down. I'll put in different loop switches and an actual compatible keycap set. And I'm gonna put this on my eBay in one of those $250 mystery tech boxes that I do. I'll put this in that with like a mouse and some other tech stuff for sure. And if you want it, then perfect, it's yours. This is only gonna be in the 250 tech box though, so sort of an early bird special here if you're seeing this relatively early. Now for the sound test, again with the Akko Cream Blues, polycarbonate plate, gasket mount. That's the only really part of this keyboard that has the saving grace, if you will. Those Akko Blues are just a hell of a deal. Like I said, just around 25 bucks for 90 switches. The stabilizers here, not that good. Admittedly, pretty trash, but again, I'm not gonna be keeping this or using this, so I didn't wanna put any more effort into the build because clearly Megalodon didn't. And if I were to be keeping this, or if I were to be actually using this, and if it was better, then sure, I would modify the switches and all that, but it's just not worth the effort at the end of the day. That's exactly what Megalodon thought when they had an idea and they sort of half-assed it here. So guys, if you want to check out some of the components, like I said, the switches, all the stuff that went into this build, I will put it for you in the description down below, as well as that eBay mystery tech box. You could check it all out and pick this up with some other random bundle tech. That'll do it for my review and build from hell of the Console 64. Hope you enjoyed more than I did. If you did, give this video a big thumbs up and show your support. Feel free to follow me on Twitter at randomfrankp. And last, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Hope you all enjoyed. Have a good day.